Good morning to all of you. In the last lecture, we have already started with the basal ganglia. Now today, we are going to see what are the remaining half of the basal ganglia, that is what are the functions and applied part of the basal ganglia. In the last lecture, we have seen what are the different nuclei present in the basal ganglia. That is nothing but the caudate nucleus, putamen, globus pallidus, subthalamic nucleus, and substantia nigra. And what are the circuit, that is putamen circuit and caudate circuit? What are the input and output? Mainly input is to the striatum, that is neostriatum, caudate and putamen, and output is mainly from the globus pallidus internal segment. So this is a circuit we have seen in the last lecture. Different internuclear connections also, and input is via this towards the striatum, and output is via this globus pallidus internal segment. Internuclear connections, that is a nigrostriatal pathway, striatonigral pathway, then striatum to the globus pallidus external segment, then again globus pallidus external segment to the subthalamic nucleus, and then to the GPI, that is globus pallidus internal segment. Again, striatum to globus pallidus internal segment. These are the connections. You just remember that globus pallidus internal segment is the main output for the basal ganglia. Putamen circuit, we have seen in the last lecture, there is main putamen circuit. There is nothing but the premotor input is from the premotor, primary motor, supplementary motor, sensory area toward the putamen, and from the putamen is the globus pallidus internal segment, and from here to the ventroanterior and ventrolateral nucleus of thalamus, and then to the again back to the premotor area. This is about the main putamen circuit, while ancillary circuits are again input is same, and then putamen, from the putamen GPI, that is globus pallidus internal segment, and then substantia nigra, and then to the thalamus, and then again back to the same endpoint. This is first ancillary circuit. Second, putamen, then globus pallidus external segment, then subthalamus, then that is body of Lewis subthalamic nucleus, then ventroanterior ventrolateral nucleus of thalamus, and then back to the endpoint as prefrontal premotor area. And last ancillary circuit is two-way connection between the subthalamic nuclei and the globus pallidus external segment. This is about the putamen circuit. Main function is subconscious execution of learned pattern of movement. Caudate circuit, that is throughout all of the starting from the frontal lobe to the occipital cortex, input is from all this area, then sent to the GPI, that is globus pallidus internal segment, the ventroanterior and ventrolateral nucleus of thalamus, and then back to the prefrontal area. This is about the caudate circuit. Now let's start the remaining half of the basal ganglia. So what are the neurotransmitters present in the basal ganglia? Mainly the dopamine, that is secreted from the substantia nigra pars compacta. It have two receptors, D1 and D2 receptor. D1 is excitatory, D2 is inhibitory over the striatum. Then GABA and acetylcholine. These are the main neurotransmitters present in the basal ganglia. Other neurotransmitters are present in the midbrain pons and medulla, that is norepinephrine, serotonin, and enkephalin. So these are the neurotransmitters. What are the functions of basal ganglia? First important function is maintenance of muscle tone. Basal ganglia is inhibitory to the muscle tone. Now how? This diagram we have already seen in the reticular formation system. That is, the two components of the reticular system, reticular formation. That one is ascending activity response system and descending. Descending have two components. That is a pontine reticular formation facilitatory area and medullary reticular formation inhibitory area. That means pontine continuously send excitatory signal to the gamma motor neuron, while medulla causes inhibition of the gamma motor neuron discharge. The gamma motor neuron have two components, static and dynamic components over the muscle spindle, and it will control the contraction of it will control the muscle tone. So this is we have seen in the last lecture, that is in the reticular formation lecture. Today the basal ganglia, that is the basal ganglia have excitatory influence on the medulla. That means it will activate the medullary reticular formation inhibitory area. And what is the role of that medullary reticular formation inhibitory area? It will cause the inhibition of gamma motor neuron discharge. And that's why the sentence is basal ganglia is inhibitory to the muscle tone. Why? Because it activates the which area? It activates the medullary reticular formation inhibitory area. Because of that, it inhibits the muscle tone. That means it inhibits the gamma motor neuron discharge. Okay. And that's why if there is a damage to the basal ganglia, it can have only this spontaneous formation area is there, activation there, and muscle becomes rigid. That we are going to see in the applied part of the basal ganglia. Why there is a rigidity in the basal ganglia? Because of this. There is no inhibition. There is no activation of this inhibitory area, and there is no inhibition of gamma motor neuron discharge. Okay, RAC is nothing but the reticular activating system. So this is another nuclei of the brain, that is a nuclei of the cerebellum, also control the muscle tone, that we are going to cover in the lectures of the cerebellum. You just remember that reticular activating system, motor cortex, basal ganglia, and the cerebellum. These are the most important structure present in the brain which control the muscle tone. Out of that, basal ganglia have inhibitory effect. Why inhibitory effect? Because it activates the medullary reticular formation inhibitory area, which in turn causes the inhibition of gamma motor neuron discharge. Okay. Second function is that is a putamen circuit. That is subconscious execution of learned pattern of movements. Already I have explained in the last lecture what is meant by subconscious execution of learned pattern of movement. That means once you learn that activity, that is writing skill, driving skill, once you learn that activity, the brain, that is the putamen circuit, because of putamen circuit present in the basal ganglia, that activity is done in future at subconscious level. So there is no need to concentration. So that brain is free to available to do another activity. That is called as subconscious execution of learned pattern of movement. That is whatever the activity you have learned, that activity becomes at subconscious level in future. Okay, that is called as subconscious execution of learned pattern of movement. Third function is cognitive control of sequence of motor pattern, by which thought is generated into a voluntary action. That is called as caudate circuit. This is done by the caudate circuit. What do you mean by cognition? Cognition is nothing but the thinking process of the brain. This is a caudate circuit. Input, output is ventrolateral nucleus of thalamus. So what is cognition? Cognition is thinking process of the brain. Whatever the information you have stored in the brain and whatever the sensory input is there, there is that sensory information and the store memory that helpful for to generate or to think that particular activity. For example, if any frightened thing is there, so for example, if you go in the forest, if the lion is come in front of you, so you can have options. You can climb the tree, you can run away from that situation. So that is the thinking process of the brain. That means whatever the frightened thing is there, we have to run away from that situation. So this is again thinking process. So that thinking process is done by because of this caudate circuit. Fourth function is planning and programming of motor pattern of movements. Again, this diagram you will also have in lectures of cerebellum. So what is planning and programming? That means whatever the activity, the voluntary activity, for example, you want to play cricket or you suppose you want to lift a weight, there should be a flexion of your elbow. So that planning, at what stage we have to stop, at what stage we have to lift that particular instrument. That is, this planning and programming is done in the two parts. That is the basal ganglia and the cerebellum. So what are the idea? That means, for example, you want to lift that particular weight. So that idea, that thinking is sent to the cortical association area, and that idea, that means you have to lift that particular weight. That that idea is sent to the basal ganglia. One copy is sent to the premotor cortex, motor cortex, and one copy is sent to the lateral cerebellum. So this basal ganglia and the lateral cerebellum, this both together is helpful for planning and programming. And once that action is planned, that action, motor information or that plan is sent to the premotor and motor cortex via thalamus. Okay. So this cerebellum, lateral part of cerebellum and the basal ganglia play important role in planning and programming. And then motor cortex send the corrected signal to the spinal cord at the effector level. Suppose, for example, flexion of the elbow, you require bicep muscle. So that motor cortex send the information to the bicep muscle via spinal cord to flex that particular elbow. Okay. So this is planning. Each and every voluntary movements there should be a planning and programming, and that planning and programming is done in the basal ganglia and the lateral part of cerebellum. Fifth function is to determine the different parameters of movement. Selection of appropriate pattern, that is timing, scaling, intensity, direction of movements, and sequence. For example, if you ask the person to write a capital letter A, or if you ask the person to write only the letter A, that person can write a small a, or the person can write a capital A. Again, while writing that particular thing, some person may require 1 second, 0.5 second, that is timing. Scaling means scaling and intensity. Again, size of the letter. Some person may have write a small letter, size of the letter is small. Some person may write a small capital large letter. Okay, so that is a scaling and intensity. Direction of movements and sequence. Some person may start from the left to right. Some person may start right from the right to left. Okay, that is direction of movements also. Or some person may write a letter, sentence or a letter vertical or horizontal. That is the direction and sequence. So that direction, timing, scaling is a function of basal ganglia. And that's why if there is a damage to the basal ganglia, that person, for example, in Parkinson patient, there is a damage to the substantia nigra nuclei, pars compacta. So that person, if you see the writing of that, if you ask the person of Parkinson patient to write some sentence, you will observe that at the end of the sentence, the size of the letter goes on decreasing. Okay, because of this damage to this particular substantia nigra pars compacta, part of the basal ganglia. Control of reflex muscular activity, exert inhibitory effect on spinal reflexes and regulate the activity of muscles. By doing this, it maintains the posture. That means what are the different spinal reflexes are there, it will helpful to control the posture. Role in arousal mechanism. Now, because of connection with the reticular activating system, mainly the globus pallidus and that connection between the globus pallidus and red nucleus, this is helpful for arousal mechanism. Now, applied part, what are the diseases of basal ganglia that can be hyperkinetic or hypokinetic? Hyperkinetic means the movements are excessive and abnormal, like for example, is chorea, athetosis, and hemibalismus. Again, I will demonstrate this in the practical hours also. What is meant by chorea? Chorea is nothing but this. It is involuntary type of movements, dancing type of movements, and athetosis is snake charming type of movement. Now, why it is called a snake charming? Because the movement of that particular upper limb or lower limb is like a snake. How the snake crawl over the ground, same movement of that particular hand or lower limb is there. That is called as snake charming movement. Then hemibalismus, again, is the sudden flinging of the arm. Again, it's because of the damage to the basal ganglia, one of the components of the basal ganglia. Hypokinetics, like in case of Parkinson patient, there can be absent of movement, that is called as akinesia, or there is maybe a slowness of movements, that is called as bradykinesia. If you see the Parkinson patient, you will understand this, what is meant by akinesia and bradykinesia. So these are the different diseases which can, because of the damage to the basal ganglia, take place. That is Wilson disease, Huntington disease, chorea, also called as Huntington's chorea. Name of the scientist Huntington's. Hemibalismus, athetosis, kernicterus, and Parkinsonism. So let us see one by one. First is Parkinsonism. You may have a short answer question on this Parkinsonism. You should write under this heading: introduction, causes, pathophysiology, clinical features, and treatment. So Parkinsonism is also called as shaking palsy or paralysis agitans. The name of the scientist who found out that term, that is called as Parkinsonism. So scientist's name is James Parkinson. Causes is, now as the age is advances, there is a loss of dopaminergic neuron. Mainly after the age of 60 years, if the 60 to 80% of neurons of substantia nigra dopaminergic neuron degeneration take place, at that time the symptoms arises. Okay. Second cause is drug toxicity. Now this MPTP, that is methyl phenyl tetrahydrofuranidine, this is one of the components of the drug accidentally found during the formation of opioid-like drugs, and during that formation of that particular drug, accidentally they found out MPTP caused the Parkinsonism. Reserpine, anti-hypertension drug, phenothiazine, which block the D2 receptor. You know that D1 and D2 receptor are present in the corpus striatum. Again, trauma to the head, which again lead to the Parkinsonism. Some infection like viral encephalitis and cerebral atherosclerosis also lead to the Parkinsonism. What is the main pathophysiology of Parkinsonism? You know the D1 and D2 receptor present in the striatum. This is normal thing. Now, because of this damage to the substantia nigra pars compacta, there is no action of dopamine over the striatum. And because of that, there is a excitation of thalamus, and thalamus continuously send excitatory signal to the cortex. And that's why, because of that, there is some symptoms like lead pipe rigidity, fine tremor. Now, what is the lead pipe rigidity? Because of continuous excitatory signal, you can see that because of overexcitation, and then results in excitation of thalamus, which send excitatory signal, continuous excitatory signal to the cortex, which will lead to the overexcitation of flexor and extensor group of muscle. And because of that, that particular limb is like a rigid pipe. And if you do the passive movement, if you hold the person's hand and you suppose you hold the right hand or left hand and you flex the patient's elbow, you require more resistance as compared to the normal patient. And that resistance is present throughout the movement, and that is called as lead pipe of rigidity. Okay. Tremor is fine tremor, and it is resting and fine tremor. Resting means even if the person is in sitting condition or sleeping position, person have that supine position, the person have a resting time of tremor, and that tremor is typical. That is a pill rolling type of tremor. Now, what is the pill rolling type of tremor? The person's thumb is continuously move over the thumb, index finger. Okay, that is called as pill rolling type of tremor, and it is because of imbalance between the acetylcholine and dopamine. And that tremor may be present at the fingers, like for example, the thumb is literally roll over the index finger. That is called as pill rolling. The tremor may be at the hands, lips, and tongue. There are two types of tremor are there. In general, resting tremor is present in the Parkinsonism. Intention tremor, during that particular activity, suppose you want the person to do the hand movements. If you ask the person to touch the finger, tip of the index finger or the tip of the nose, well, there is a during that tremor. If you ask the person to lift the particular object, during that activity there is a tremor, and that is called as intention tremor. Okay, that is present in the lesion of the damage to the cerebellum. We will see in the lectures of cerebellum what is by intention tremor. You just remember that there are two types of tremor: resting and intention. Resting means even the patient is in resting condition, there is a tremor, while intention means during activity, some activity, there is a tremors. So in the Parkinsonism, there is a resting tremor because of imbalance between the acetylcholine and the dopamine. Third is loss of automatic associated movement. If you see the Parkinson patient and normal person, and ask a person to person to walk, there is a normal move in the normal person during the walking. While walking, there are also movement of both the upper limb. But in case of Parkinson patient, there is a loss of automatic associated movement. That means that both the upper limb is in fixed position. There is no movement of that both the upper limb. Okay, that is called as loss of automatic associated movements. Mask-like faces, patient face is expressionless because of decreased movement of the facial muscles. Loss of normal gesture, the person the attitude is completely flexed. And when you ask the person to walk along a straight line or walk just normally, person is unable to walk, but that walking is very slow. That is called as slow shuffling gait or fascinating gait. Walk quickly with a short step, or propulsion gait or retropulsion gait. Propulsion means forward and retro means backward. Akinesia, absent movement, or bradykinesia, slow movement. So like that way, you can see that how you can see the flex both the elbow. There is no movement of that particular elbow while walking. Flex knee, hip is flexed, neck is flexed. And when you ask a person to walk, person walk very, that is a short step. And like that, he is trying to catch the center of gravity. Okay, you can, because of this flex attitude, flex posture. This is called as, this is a facilitating gait or the short steps gait. Treatment is, as there is a damage to the substantia nigra which secrete the dopamine. So that's why the treatment is dopamine. The L-dopa, levodopa. This when you give that L-dopa drugs, that drug L-dopa is converted into the dopamine in the brain. L-dopa cross the blood-brain barrier and is converted into the dopamine. Again, second combination, L-dopa plus carbidopa. This carbidopa prevent the peripheral conversion. When we give the L-dopa, some drugs may convert in the peripherally L-dopa to dopamine. And to prevent the peripheral conversion of this L-dopa to dopamine, this carbidopa is given so that more L-dopa cross the blood-brain barrier and helpful to create the more dopamine, to produce the more dopamine. Again, third drug, L-deprenyl, again, it is inhibits the monoamine oxidase enzyme. Now, this enzyme destroys the dopamine so that more dopamine is available. That is called as L-deprenyl. So the L-deprenyl plus L-dopa is a much better treatment as compared to the individual treatment, L-dopa or L-deprenyl. Transplantation of abortus fetal dopaminergic cells in the caudate nucleus and putamen by stimulating the electrode. This is again one advanced technique for the Parkinson patient. We have to just take the, whatever the abortus fetal is there, and that we have to take the dopaminergic cells of that fetus, and then with the help of stimulating electrode, you can take that, transport that particular dopaminergic cells into the basal ganglia so that the substantia or dopaminergic cells try to heal and try to secrete the dopamine neurotransmitter. Again, surgically, there can be we have to give the lesions at the ventroventral and ventrolateral nucleus of thalamus so that there is no excitatory signal toward the cortex. So there is no rigidity, that symptoms becomes relief for that Parkinson patient. Second applied is athetosis. That is there is a continuous slow writhing movements of distal parts of the limb. That is a snake charming movement. Now, why it is called snake charming? Because that movement of the particular peripheral part, distal part, is like a very slow movement, like how the snake is crawl over the ground. That's what is called as snake charming of movements. Groups of muscles are affected, either flexor or extensor groups of muscles are affected. This happened because of lesion to globus pallidus. Again, you may have MCQ on this. Athetosis is because of damage to the basal ganglia. Which part of the basal ganglia? Your answer will be globus pallidus. Hemibalismus or balismus, hemi means half side. It is a violent flinging of the arms, that is involuntary movements of the entire limbs, starting from the shoulder, elbow, and the wrist. While in case of athetosis, there is only peripheral part, that is up to the wrist, beyond the wrist. Okay. While in hemibalismus or balismus, whole the limb, upper limb or lower limb, starting from the shoulder, elbow, or wrist, whole limb is suddenly flinged. Okay, that is called as hemibalismus, and it is because of damage to the subthalamic nucleus, body of Lewis. Chorea, it is the person's, that patient, if there is a damage to the caudate nucleus, that person or that patient have involuntary dancing type of movement, very jerky type of movements of whole body or typically in the facial muscles. It have two types, Sydenham's chorea and Huntington's chorea. Both are the scientists, Sydenham's and Huntington's. Sydenham's mainly occurs in the children or in adolescent up to the age of 10 to 20 years. And this is because of one of the infection that is called as, again, it is an autoimmune disease, and because of group 1A beta hemolytic streptococci, one of the bacteria, that is beta hemolytic streptococci, which lead to the Sydenham's chorea, rheumatic fever. Again, in Huntington's chorea, it is a inherited disorder present in 5 out of 1 lakh patient. Usually begins in the 30 to 50 years of age. It is autosomal hereditary disorder dominant, and main cause is there is a abnormal gene located in the chromosome number 4 that is called as Huntington gene. So that protein coded by this gene is called as Huntington's, whose function is unknown. But some found out that because of that Huntington genes present in the chromosome number 4, which lead to the Huntington disease. And characteristic feature is that again it is a shrinking movement of the individual joints, then progressively more distal to the, that means it involves the whole distal part of the joints also. So just to summarize about the basal ganglia consists of 5 group of nuclei: caudate, putamen, globus pallidus, subthalamic nucleus, and substantia nigra. About the connections, because the main putamen circuit and the ancillary putamen circuit and also caudate circuit, in that connection, main input is toward the neostriatum, that is nothing but the caudate nucleus and putamen, while most important output is via globus pallidus internal segment toward the thalamus, and from the thalamus toward the cortex. Main functions of the basal ganglia are maintenance of the muscle tone by activating the medullary reticular formation inhibitory area, which in turn causes the inhibition of gamma motor neuron. Second function is subconscious execution of learned pattern of movement by putamen circuit. Cognitive control of sequence pattern of movement, again it is because of caudate circuit. Planning and programming along with the lateral cerebellum, it is helpful for planning and programming. And to determine the different parameters of movement, again this is a function of the basal ganglia. In applied, we have to remember mainly the Parkinsonism, and then again this hemipalismus, chorea, and athetosis. Okay, so this is about the Parkinsonism. Some questions: functions of basal ganglia, connections of basal ganglia, then enumerate the nucleus of basal ganglia and write a short note on Parkinsonism. Some MCQs like neostriatum includes caudate plus putamen, putamen plus globus pallidus external segment, putamen plus globus pallidus internal segment, and all of the above. Lentiform nucleus includes caudate plus putamen, putamen plus globus pallidus external segment, putamen plus globus pallidus internal segment, and both B and C. So you have to take the appropriate answer. So this is about the basal ganglia. In the next lecture, we are going to start about the cerebellum. Again, one of the important components which helpful for to regulate the muscle tone and various voluntary movements. Okay, thank you.